Since our primal days, humans have often believed that we have a more savage nature within us, a wild side, if you will. How it manifests varies from culture to culture, but most have this in common. The wild nature within us is uncontrollable, and it will lash out at anything and anyone in its way. This, many believe, is where the common idea of the werewolf comes from. But how would werewolves be treated in the real world? Would these beasts of both horror and fantasy be able to live and adapt to real life in the real world? Let's talk about it. This is Fantastical History. The first thing we need to clear up about this topic is that werewolves can't really be classified as a race. At most, we can call them a genetic abnormality or a cursed people. Werewolves, according to popular culture, can have two explanations, which I refer to as the curse or the clan origin. Werewolves that adhere to the curse explanation are not monsters by choice, but rather it is forced on them. Werewolves who are cursed were cursed either because they were born from another werewolf, or, more likely, they were bitten by a werewolf and lived. On the night of a full moon, the werewolf goes through a dramatic transformation where they transform into a huge wolf or monster akin to a wolf. Once they change, they lose all sense of self, not recognizing friend or foe, and lashing out at anyone or anything in their path. This continues until the next morning when they will return to normal, but with no memory of what happened or who they hurt. Cursed werewolves are seen as monsters and pariah. They are hated by society and would often be sought out to be killed. The odds of cursed werewolves surviving into the modern age is grim at best, particularly during the Roman age. Rome would not suffer wild beasts to kill innocent people, and if one was sighted, they would quickly make it a point to kill the monster. The same could also be said for ancient China and other countries to the Far East. Even if there were still cursed werewolves in the world after this time period, by the time of the Inquisition in the West, they would certainly be all but destroyed. The Inquisition were very staunch about destroying all evil or heretical threats, and werewolves, being unnatural and dangerous, would certainly be viewed as heretical threats. They would develop hunting parties armed with weapons and tools with which to kill a werewolf, and would question anyone who appeared to have symptoms of being a werewolf, such as constant fatigue, memory loss, sudden fits of rage for no reason, and disappearances for once a month. Werewolves would likely be eliminated or pushed into obscurity up until perhaps the Age of Enlightenment. If there is any remnant of the curse left, with the Age of Enlightenment where people tried to veer away from superstitious ideals and belief in the supernatural, the ignorance this brought would allow the werewolves to grow in number and thus allow for a spike in their population. This might shorten the Enlightenment period and their world's ideals would be swiftly shattered. However, it wouldn't take long for humanity to bounce back and then purge the menace. Cursed werewolves would likely not make it into the modern age after this point. Now, clan-based werewolves are a different matter altogether. These werewolves seem to have more control of themselves. Not unlike Skyrim werewolves, these werewolves likely have the ability to transform into wolves based on genetics or a blood trait. There could be a sort of ritual that allows one to become part of the clan, or it could be something exclusive to a group, cult, or mercenary band like the Companions. In the movie Twilight, their version of werewolves is very similar to this clan style of werewolves, but I think they were going more in line with skinwalkers, which isn't quite the same thing, but that's a subject for its own video. If the werewolves have control over their minds when they change and can even decide when they change at all, this could provide an outstanding advantage for their clan in combat. Rather than be wiped out, kingdoms, fiefs, and lords would likely seek them out to hire them or to win their favor. They would make exceptional shock troopers since they possess the fury and strength of a beast, but also the intelligence of a human. However, as a result of their tremendous battle prowess, they would be far more regulated and controlled. If the clan were to breed too many werewolves or invite too many into their fold, then they might have more members than they could control, which could lead to breakdowns in leadership, clan organization, and the possibility of all-out separation of the clan. And in that case, rogue werewolves with their ability could prove dangerous, so either by inter-clan laws or by exterior law placed on them by governments or leaders, the werewolf clans would have to be controlled and accounted for. This would be maintained all the way through the Renaissance period, particularly during the Italian Wars. Werewolves could reshape the battlefield up until possibly the Industrial Age. And as guns and rapid-fire weaponry become more commonplace, the advantage of a beast in the battlefield would be diminished. Clans will be seen less and less necessary to hire, and thus their role as warriors would be seen as a thing of the past. Clans would likely be given stricter regulations to ensure they don't hurt others, and eventually we might even see them start to slip into obscurity. It's highly possible that clans of werewolves could survive into the modern age, so long as they don't harm others or use their transformations to kill. They might be given reservations or specific land to live off of if they choose to live away from society. But now this all leads to another obvious question. Assuming that they are physically able and they have control of their minds and bodies, could werewolves potentially wear armor and carry weapons? If so, they could be invaluable in battle, right? Well, yeah, they would prove far faster, stronger, and more instinctively keen than a human, but bear in mind what you're now creating. A werewolf will, more often than not, be larger than a typical human, built larger, stronger, and be more noticeable. For this reason, in a battlefield scenario, they are a larger target. Plus, assuming that they are wearing heavy armor, this is going to add protection, but it will restrict movement to a significant degree, taking away some of the speed advantage that a werewolf could provide. Carrying weapons could prove very useful during the medieval age, where their brute strength could put them at an advantage, but by the advent of firearms, brute force just wouldn't be enough. That's why guns are called the great equalizer. It doesn't matter how big and strong you are, a gun can be used and made lethal by anyone. For modern warfare and even medieval warfare, the best way that I see to utilize a werewolf is to use espionage, stealth, and surprise attacks. Taking the enemy off guard with a sudden werewolf attack would be the most effective way to use their strength, speed, and animal instincts. One possible strategy that I thought of would be to allow a handful of your soldiers to be captured by the enemy so they can be led back to the camp or headquarters. However, make sure that there's a werewolf or two amongst them. Then, that night, while locked up, have the werewolves transform, break out, and sow chaos among the enemy's ranks while the other soldiers plan a jailbreak or steal information. This would utilize them to their fullest. And it may seem strange, but to use a werewolf in frontline combat just doesn't seem as useful, as they would be easy targets, hard to miss, and with the progression of technology, their brute force and cunning just won't give them the edge they need to be effective enough. For an example, imagine 2 or 3 werewolves charging a Spartan shield wall. That outcome doesn't look good for the werewolves by any metric, and that's just in the age of antiquity. No, the best way to use a werewolf or a clan of them is to utilize them in hit-and-run guerrilla tactics at night and without warning. Werewolves, cursed or otherwise, have little chance of fully overpowering humanity as a whole. If the werewolves could control their nature or their strength, or if the werewolves were capable of rational thought in their changes, then perhaps they could live alongside humanity. But if they are truly cursed and savage creatures, werewolves will be viewed as a threat. They will be treated no differently than any other monster and would be killed by those that view it as such. It's possible that medical research might push some to seek a cure, and with vast growth in technology and time, it is possible that a cure for werewolves could be found. But for many societies in the medieval world, both Western and Eastern, it's far easier to merely kill the problem than it is to waste time and resources on a potential cure that may never come. As sad as that is, it's the nature of primitive culture. Werewolves themselves probably wouldn't ever feel a need to rise up against humanity either. Unless they were born into the clan and were wolves from the start, most werewolves would likely have been human beforehand and would likely not want to hurt humanity. Even cursed werewolves probably wouldn't want to consciously hurt other humans. They would rather see themselves as the monster, seeking to hide themselves away from the people they might hurt. It is a duel between the savage and the compassionate, and most clans likely would establish rules and laws that they must follow to keep themselves governed and under control. If werewolves started killing humans without restraint, then they would only bring danger upon themselves, which they simply can't afford. But what makes the werewolf truly frightening is the implication that it creates, and that implication is what would bring down the wrath of the church, of governments, of armies, and of heroes. Does the werewolf curse turn us into monsters? Or does it merely bring out a side of ourselves we all but forgot? Is there a darkness within mankind that we've pushed away, that we've hidden to protect the fragile institution that we call civilization? Is the wild truly something we must seek, or something we carry with us? If the werewolf is our primal nature fully realized and liberated every full moon, then perhaps we seek to slay the beast not because of the threat it poses to us, but because of the reminder of what it says about us as a species. We are merely beasts playing at civilization, and in time, the beasts will emerge to claim us. Thank you guys for watching Fantastical History, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.